Okay, I just uh, went to random.org and I entered a number between 1 and 222. I came up with 206. So I'm probably going to just go with that number, or I could do it again and you'll see it. Here you've got an integer between 1 and 222 because it's a 222 page book. So I could go to get numbers and it gives me 187. So I'll go to 187 since you saw it generated randomly. Okay, so this is book reading number 5 and it's May 15th, 2016. You just saw me generate the random number, and just from my own recollection again, it was 187. Alright, 187 is a photograph right here. Okay, and as you can see, although I can't see it, the top photograph is me in high school with my girlfriend at that time, Dawn. And then that's a scene from the movie Gladiator. Not the one with Russell Crowe, but the one with Cuba Gooding Jr. and James Marshall. And that is um, a scene from the movie, and the girl's name tag says Dawn. And he's a boxer in Chicago, a senior in high school, Irish kid, good writer, wants to go to college, but he's forced to box in these amateur bouts, smokers that are illegal. So, yeah, let me see if you can see Dawn on her. I don't know if you can see where it says Dawn on her name tag, but anyway, here's a clear screenshot from the movie where you can clearly see the name Dawn on the name tag of the character in the movie. Um, I have to show you that because 187, page 187 isn't a reading, so I'm going to look over to 186. Then it says the caption for the photos is photo on top taken of me when I was age. Oh no. The photo on the top is of me and my then girlfriend Dawn at my high school graduation ceremony in May 1989. The photo below is a screenshot from the movie Gladiator of character Tommy Riley meeting his soon-to-be girlfriend Dawn as seen on her shirt name tag. So I'm gonna go to 186, start reading there. And what it's talking about is, to put it in context, the chapter is chapter 9. You can count on him. Chapter 9, you can count on him. And in the Bible verse is Matthew 17:20. All right, Matthew 17:20. Just to put everything in context, which is the point of the verse at the beginning of each chapter. He said to them, because of the littleness of your faith, that is your lack of firmly relying trust. For truly I say to you, if you have faith that is living like a grain of mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to yonder place, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible to you. And I gotta let my other dog in, so. Good morning, everybody. Okay, pal. Okay, buddy. Good boy. I'm gonna go in 10 minutes, Ringo. The dogs haven't gotten their walk yet, so let me see what I can do here. Yeah, let me finish this. Alright, so page 186. I'm talking about this movie Gladiator, right? And on the top is a picture of me around that time. I'll show you another picture when I was boxing. And then that's the kid at the bottom, and people told me that he looked like me, which at the time I didn't think, but there's obviously a resemblance. Um, I mean, I don't have a twin, so if you're going to try to find somebody, he'd probably be the best guy to look like me. This here is me and Dawn at my prom, or at her prom. This is me at the gym after my first fight with my first trophy. So you can see me at age 17. So anyway, let's go to 186. And all right, so I write with regards to those photos. That's a photo taken of me when I was age 19 for a state ID card, in comparison with the promotion photo for the movie Gladiator with James Marshall, who played Tommy Riley in the foreground. So, okay, at first when I was young, I thought the actor didn't look like me. As I got older, I could see how there could have been a resemblance. Then one night, the vast number of similarities struck me a lot, and I went to the internet to try to determine if the movie had any connection to me. The first thing I did was try to determine who the screenwriter was, but instead of a screenwriter's name, it merely said, "From Story." Next, I Googled the promoter of my fight at Ditka's that night, because I talked about a fight at Ditka's restaurant when I was 17, when I was overmatched. A guy who I was told he was 21, and he had 5 fights, but it turned out he was 22, and he probably had a lot more fights, because as I found out recently, he went pro 7 months later, and it was only my fourth fight in 6 weeks of fighting. Um, Although I had been training since November, right around right around Thanksgiving, so end of November. So I really only had like 3 months of training and 6 weeks of fighting, real fights in the ring with strangers, not sparring in the gym. So I prayed because I was overmatched, and I prayed incessantly and fervently, and I ended up beating this guy. Um, and there was a lot of similarities in the movie. One being that the promoter of my fight was in the movie, um, and the kid fights a black guy, older and bigger than him, and he's overmatched, and he ends up winning at the end. So I talked about that. So I fought at Ditka's, just to let you know. Next, I Googled the promoter of my fight at Ditka's that night, Johnny Bellino, and his name came up in a filmography on www.imdb.com as Don's dad in the movie Gladiator. So no professional screenwriter wrote the script. It was merely from story, and the promoter of my fight at Ditka's restaurant had a bit part in the movie as Don's dad. Then the next thing that struck me was Tommy Riley's girlfriend's name in the movie, Dawn. My girlfriend while I was fighting was also named Dawn. Also, the promoter at Ditka's saw me again at the Chicago Park District Championship at the Chicago Amphitheater in June 1989. He introduced me to a young African-American guy who was literally built like Mike Tyson. We hit it off right away, and I told him the Tyson lookalike I saw him fight at the Golden Gloves. He said, "Yeah, I knocked him out." I just nodded and agreed, although the fight I saw did not result in a knockout. I saw him in the preliminaries, and he didn't score a knockout, so he was probably talking about a later fight in the tournament. But Johnny Bellino told me he was going to be having some more shows that summer if I wanted to fight. I told him reluctantly that I intended to take some time off. I remember he politely acknowledged my decision and said he understood, but he looked disappointed or mildly perplexed. The reason I was taking some time off was because I had a lot of fights in the gym with guys older than me. They were sparring was more like fighting, and I got my nose broke really bad by a guy who was 28, and I my knees buckled one time fighting an older, more experienced guy who was 24, and but they fought me hard because I fought them hard. I didn't know there was another way, and shortly after I turned 18 that summer, I had to have an operation on my nose, and they kept me overnight in the hospital one night to remove the cartilage because this side was 90% black, this side was like 70% black, and I had to breathe through my mouth. So you could see how after, you know, 6 months of fighting, if you have to have surgery already and you're 17 years old, you would want to take some time off. But I always got along well with other boxers and made friends easily. It never mattered to me if someone was black or Hispanic or whatever else. I can remember fighting in Gary, Indiana, and the only people who weren't African American were me, my girlfriend Dawn, who drove with me, and my coach Arnie from Chicago to Gary. My coach Arnie, my parents, my opponent, who also drove with his coach from Chicago to Gary, and his coach, who was also a referee that night. I'm not 100% sure, but I think his coach was Pete Pogorski, who was an amateur boxer at Portage Park before I was, and now referees professional fights, including world championships. I don't remember the coach's name from that night, but I recognize his face, even though 25 years later, is Pete Pogorski. Before the fight in Gary, Indiana, which took place at the Gary PAL Police Athletic League on a remote road, I was sitting in the locker room getting ready. I was the only white person in the locker room. I didn't know anyone, but I made friends with another kid who was sitting on the bench next to me. He was telling me that he just started boxing at age 16, but that his dad had been teaching him different exercises since he was little to get him ready for now, when he was old enough to begin boxing. While we were talking, a crowd of guys were in the shower making a lot of noise, yelling and laughing, as two guys at a time were bare knuckle in the middle of the shower. The water wasn't running, it was just where there was enough room for a crowd and a makeshift ring. When I fought in Gary, my opponent was also a white guy from the northwest side of Chicago. It was his first fight, my second, and both our coaches just wanted us to get experience. The first round, this guy came out swinging like a windmill due to his inexperience. No technique, he just kept swinging. So I responded in kind. It probably resembled a cat fight, a wild melee. All the black guys in the room were hooting and hollering and laughing it up. I felt ridiculous. So after the first round, I had to make an adjustment. In my corner, I decided in my mind I was going to wait and let this guy come to me, and most of all, to calm down. So in the second round, this kid came at me, same as before. His heart was probably pounding as fast as it could go. I just relaxed, let him get close. Then I just let my fist go and hit him in the face several times. He went reeling across the ring. Then I just waited, and after a standing 8 count, he returned with the same idea. I just did the same thing again, hitting him several times in the face when he got close, and he went reeling across the ring. He seemed to be on roller skates the way he went back both times so fast and so far. This time, however, when the referee went to give him another 8 count, he shook his head and said he did not want to go on. So that was the end of my second fight, and the second round TKO for me. He never touched me the second round, unlike the first. After the fight, the referee, who was also my opponent's coach, told me that if I fought like that at the Golden Gloves coming up in a couple of weeks, that I would do well. Then as I walked out of the arena, a young black guy standing near the door on my way out acknowledged me and told me, "Good fight." Then, if you watch the movie Gladiator, you see similar scenes. Tommy Riley is the only white kid among the other fighters, and in one scene, as he's walking out, one of the black kids says to him, "You're something else," and his black friend Lincoln, played by Cuba Gooding Jr., calls him Hotshot. That might not seem remarkable today, but this was in 1989 in Chicago and Gary, Indiana. Chicago was a very segregated city at this time. It's not segregated by law, but de facto. And back in the 1960s, when Martin Luther King visited Chicago and met with the mayor, Richard J. Daley, there are newsreels of Dr. King telling reporters that he had not seen the type of intense racism in the deep south of the USA as he had in Chicago. I don't know if that was true in the 1960s, but that's what Dr. King said on television. And while I got along with a lot of boxers regardless of race, there were a few black guys who would not return a casual greeting. Even in the movie Gladiator, the character Lincoln's black friend tells him that he's got to teach his baby to hate white people. That's why at the end of the movie it ends with a screenshot of the white guy's hand shaking the black guy's hand. But then, as other movies of the early 1990s like Glory, with Matthew Broderick and Morgan Freeman about the Civil War, demonstrate, racial reconciliation was a common theme or goal. Today, racism is not as prevalent as it was 25 years ago. I need a sip of water, but we're running on 10 minutes. All in all, here are the similarities I found in the movie's character, Tommy Riley, which corresponded to my life at the time of my fight against Rodney Prigmo at Ditka's restaurant on March 13, 1989. He was a senior in high school, age 17. He lived in Chicago. He was called a quote-unquote pretty boy by guys and quote-unquote cute by girls. He was Irish, he was a good writer, and had a quote unquote a gift for language. He was intending to go to college. He became a boxer in Chicago. He resembled me. He had a girlfriend named Dawn. He fights an African American guy who was older and more experienced and bigger than him, and everyone in the audience, while smoking and drinking cocktails, thinks he's going to get knocked out, and then he turns it around, and the audience are on their feet, and he wins the fight, knocking down the older guy and more experienced fighter. He later turns down the promoter when asked to fight for the promoter again. The promoter at Dick's restaurant, Johnny Blino, had a small part as Don's dad in the movie, and the movie wasn't written by a Hollywood screenwriter, but was from story. It wasn't based solely on some writer's imagination. So um, that's book reading number 5. And if you want to um, see more of the story, learn more about that story, you can get the book for $19.95, which comes with the ebook for free, or the ebook is $19.95, but you won't get a free paperback. So if you buy the paperback for $19.95, you get the ebook. So you're getting the paperback and the ebook for $19.95, although it looks like you're paying $19.95 for an ebook. So Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com for the paperback, Amazon.com for the paperback and the ebook. You can go to the website Bible2015.com, and that's it. So I hope you enjoyed that book reading, and on next Saturday I'll do book reading number 6. And just real quick, I guess the last thing is I just want to show I'm still lean. It's April 15th, and I don't know if you can see. It's hard to see with the, but if the right light is right, you can pretty much see. There's no fat there. That's all. Come on, you fuck. It's all abdominals. It's all you can see. It's all lean. No love handles. So yeah. So yeah, Body Bible. I'm just practicing what I preach. So forget Weight Watchers. Just get the book, and